Alright, we're back for part 3 of the budget build. Not so budget build. Bit of a mess here, sorry. So what have we done since last time? Well, I managed to find some little plastic wheelie spacers. So you've got your regular sort of wheel spacers. And the ones that I'd got were the same as that, but they got like a 5 or a 4 mil spacer, just making them a little bit wider. You can't go anymore because the wheel spindle isn't long enough to accept all of the nuts, so that's about as far as you can go. It's not much, but it's something, and it gives you a bit more scope on your lock. But not only that, I sort of did a bit of a bendy job on the links, all the linkages. So I've added a bit of a bend on the inside. There's a bit of movement there, sorry. For the steering to give you some wheel clearance. And the same for on the back, for when we do the back steering, the rear wheel steering. So we got bend there. This one was dead straight, so sort of bent it there to come in around the chassis, get a better line up on the rear shock mount, and then straighten up for that. But also gave it a little tweak like up there as well, just to maintain that ground clearance without the link just coming straight across, because it would have sort of come across like that. So we bent that up out of the way and rejigged a few of the positions, but actually I didn't get it too far off. Shifted the shocks, I've turned them upside down. We'll see how they run upside down. There might be a little bit crap, I'm not sure, because you get the air bubble is sitting at the top then, or the bottom so to speak, and so you get that little bit of slack. But once you're into the weight of the shock, they just operate like normal anyway. So I had to do that because the lower knuckle is smaller than the upper knuckle to fit inside the chassis rails, because I wanted to move them in, and they all work nice and smooth now, which is cool. So it's nice smooth suspension action, just like on the front. No binding, it's great. So there's that done. Right, what else did I do while we were away? Let's pop that upside down there a minute. I sort of popped the gearbox and transmission Ujimi what's it and motor roughly in position where it's going to be, with all the drive shafts on, and it's offset, so, but the drive shafts are central with the axles. Let's turn it this way around and line you up there. There we go. So I want to mount this off to the side as much as I can get it to go, so that the drive line is as straight as possible. As extreme, I would be over there. I don't want that being off to that. I'll keep it as straight as I can if I can, which does mean that the motor and everything's going to be offset. I'm not going to worry about that. It just means that I'll put something on the other side to balance it out. Well, I'm going to get rid of the plastic base because obviously it's not wide enough, in favour of an aluminium one that I started making last night. So I just cut out a nice piece of aluminium. It's about 3mm, I think it is. Yeah, 3mm aluminium that I had kicking around to mimic the width of that base. I thought about making it a bigger tray to give me a bigger platform to mount stuff on, but looking at the way the drive shafts go, they're going to want to come up through could do with another couple hands. The drive shafts are going to come up through where the plate's going to come to, and I wouldn't be achieving anything if I made this platform any bigger, because I'd have to cut out for the drive shaft to come through there and things like that. I just can't be bothered. So for the minute, I'm going to make this straightforward plate that's the same width as the original plate. And as you can see, I put a couple of score lines in the aluminium there with a hacksaw, just to sort of aid the bend to be exactly where I want it. And hopefully that'll slot in there, and then it will get bolted through with these link bar bolts through the aluminium, and I'll thread the aluminium because it's 3mm. It will have a good catch, so the bolts will thread into that and hold it in place, and then of course mount my motor and gearbox on it. So we're going to do that. Alright, here we go. So normally I would put a bit of heat on this, but I think, oh yeah, maybe I will. I think I'll heat it up. It'd be annoying if I snap it. Like that, I suppose. You son of a... You motherfucker. Fuck's sake. Fuck's sake. Well, I think the less we say about that, the better, don't you? I think it was just, I don't know what grade aluminium this was, but even with a bit of heat on, it wasn't having it. So that's all right. We'll use a bit of this checker plate, which I then remembered I had left over. Got quite a bit of it because I did my trailer build. If you haven't seen the trailer build, check those out in my previous videos. There's a part 1 and 2 on the trailer, and it's quite cool, little checker plate. I wanted to use the thicker aluminium because I could tap a thread into it, but I can use this, it doesn't matter. I can, my bolts on here are long enough to go right through and then get a nut on the inside. So that's what I'm going to do now. We'll go back to a bit of music and time lapse, and we'll pop this in there and get it mounted. There is something I want to do while that's happening. Even though I've bent these links around, and making bends obviously shortens the distance that they can reach, but it's not quite enough, so hard to tell with the wheels on. But this rear axle is quite tilted back, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shimmy these links forwards. I'll drill a hole right next to that one just to pull and rotate that axle over towards the front of the truck a bit more, and once I've found that, I'll happily put this in, drill my holes through there. So we're going to do that now. Alright, yes, I started drilling the wrong ones. I wasn't paying attention, but at the same time I thought it would be a bit daft not to drill those while I'm on that job, so to speak. And now I keep putting it back together because I want to see what it's sitting like every time. So these are only finger tight, but yeah, I've moved these back links forwards, and that's brought that pretty much vertical, if you like. The front one's still got a little bit of lay back, which is favourable, I think. It's good for stability if it was ever going fast, but I don't think it'll be going fast. Certainly not at the moment with the standard running gear from the Maverick Scout fitted anyway. So we can fit this tray now. I'll have to undo these links once again, and then I can get that tray sitting where I want it to sit, and I can mark my holes and drill those now, and I'll drill all 4 holes in that as well. just so that we've got options if we happen to want to move these links. I can't imagine why we'd want to move them, but you never know. So yeah, I'm going to undo all the links now, nestle that in the middle, and then sit my gearbox on and get that in position and mark that up. I think what I might do while I'm doing this is take the wheels off again, because it's just, I haven't really got all that much room, and the wheels are a bit of a hindrance and they don't really need to be on there at the moment. And I can show you there those wheel hubs I was talking about in comparison to the other ones. Just adds another little bit of width. It's only about, I don't know, 4 mil. Just, you know, every little helps. I'm going to stick with these wheels for a little time being. I've actually got 2 sets of these wheels. One set I use on my Viterra Ascender for when I'm driving like beachy, sandy stuff, because they're really wide, but they're not very scale looking. But you know, that's another thing about these Maverick Scouts. They're okay, they're plastic and they don't look particularly great, but they are beadlocks. You can take the foams out of them and everything. Run them without the foams, give you a nice big footprint on the sand. And if you've got a lighter rig, you can run them without the foams on the rocks, and they squish around and they look great. But if you've got a heavier rig, and my Viterra is quite a heavy car, then they become a bit difficult to turn. Like the servos tend to struggle a little bit turning the really grippy, half inflated tyre, if you like. But yeah, you know, beadlocks are standard. It's another selling point for the Maverick, with the rear steer capability and all that. I notice on this truck as well, I don't know, I'll have to try and look it up to see what the which manufacturer this version came from, but it's got metal axle ends. I'm not sure what the terminology for them is. So there we go. Right. Right, here we go. Well, it's pretty sturdy. I was worried as well that this was going to be a little bit too flexy, but it seems all right. How are we going to get it in there now? Oh my god, what a nightmare. Alright, let's get rid of that base plate because we're not using it, we don't need it. Here we go. Will it fit in there? Oh, that's a blooming pain in the backside. Please tell me it will fit through there. Yeah, there we go. Right, now then, got to get this in position. I've got to get the drive shafts connected and then sort of move the gearbox and motor around until I'm happy with where I want it. So let's try and do that. Wow, it's fiddly. Now these seem to only spline together in one way. They'll kind of start to go together, but they won't actually slide together properly unless you've got it the right way around. There we go, so that slides easily there now. There we go, first time. Get it in position without dropping the shafts. And so there it is. Now, as I said before, I'm going to mount this over to the left side, because if I go right over to the right hand side, I'm extending on those drive shafts. And now it's much better if you can keep a straight drive line. So I'm going to come over to the side of the chassis as close as I can to the edge, and then just come away from it a little bit, but also the backwards and forwards, to try and maintain an even margin between this one and that one, which seems to be about center there where it is. Now I've no idea how I'm going to mark that, so while I figure that out, I'm going to switch you off and then come back. Maybe I'll tell you how I did it, maybe I won't. Well, welcome back. I'm not going to lie, that was a bit of a pain in the backside. So what I did was I managed to sort of mark a line where I felt that the center holes were for these end ones, where I could reach with a pencil, and I marked them at the edge of the plate, so I had a reference. I knew that I'd made this pretty much the same width as the alley plate, and so I lined up the holes there with my reference mark, punched it, drilled it, and now putting it together. So now I can do these up, and I did drill a slightly bigger hole than the screw, so there is a little bit of wiggle adjustment to be had, but I don't think it's all that gonna matter all that much. Now when I took this motor and gearbox out of the original car, I couldn't remember if that pinion and motor gear was at the front of the car or at the back. I got a feeling it was at the back, but I want it that way at the back because now the motor wires are sticking out towards the front of the car, and that's where my ESC and everything is going to go. So there we go, look, it's all mounted in there, and it seems pretty sturdy. I wondered if this would be a bit too flexible for that. So there's nothing stopping us from mounting up the ESC and the receiver, chucking a battery in it and seeing if it works. So I think we'll probably do that. I think we'll put them in loose because they've obviously been stuck down. Yeah, stuck down, look. So they can come out of there. Switch is there, look. Yep, switch. If we're lucky, we'll get away with using the sticky that's left on there. There's a bit of stick left in it. Let's see if we can get this put together real slapdash like, and if we got some wheels moving. So let's stick that there. Let's have these motor wires up here, chuck them in round here I think, because that battery's got to go in there somehow. Just wrap that through there a minute. There we go, like that, chuck up there like that. Battery somewhere in the van. I will run this on a LiPo, but for now, while that Tamiya plug is on there, it'll do for a minute. Bum-ba-dum-ba-dum. Radio. Which radio was it? Can't remember what radio was for it. It's good, isn't it? Where have I put that then? There it is. On. Where's that switch gone? There it is. Hiding. A minute. Ready? No? We had a beep. What does that mean now? Is this battery knackered? Ah. Yeah, there we go. Oh my god. Right, let's stick some wheels back on it. Here we go. You've got pretty good articulation on there, haven't you? Wow, there you go. But we're far from done. Far from done. There's all sorts got to go on with this. We've got to sort out the steering because that's a bit lazy. I know we can get that a lot better. We've got the rear steer we can do, but that's sort of an optional extra. We've got to tidy everything up, and then I'm going to make some body panels just to cover it in and hide some stuff. And I've got an idea of what I'm going to use for that. It's something we've had kicking around for a little while. I'm not going to show you yet. That'll be for the next video or the one after that. So for the time being, now we've got a running truck that can actually be used and played with. Because one or two of us haven't actually got a truck to play with when me and John and Simon and such go out. So this is available to be used, although I don't really want to get it all scuffed up yet anyway. But yeah, we'll probably do some different shocks. We'll sort the steering out. I want to get rid of all this ground clearing. Got all these little fitments for the bumpers and that used to be on the Scout. I'm going to cut all those off and try and get as much ground clearance. That's the only thing that's a shame with these trucks, is the diff housings they're quite big and they do hang up. But I'm going to try and minimize those as much as I can, get as much ground clearance as I can. I'm going to keep the 2.2 wheels to try and keep the ground clearance. If I went on 1.9s, then it would suffer really badly. But it's not a scale truck. It is a competition crawler. Well, that's its intention anyway. So yeah, there we go. Got it running in 2 sittings, which I don't think's too bad, do you? So yeah, hit the subscribe button, like it, share it, do whatever you want, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.